The lookout was filled with colorful stage lights as the music echoed out, barely contained by the glass windows. A sharp beat can be heard from outside the clearing, then met up with the chorus rhythm of melodies. It was the perfect afternoon for Pup Pup Boogie, and they celebrated the momentous occasion by cracking the volume up severely higher than usual. Chase had returned some time later, tiredly trudging up the sidewalk as his tail dragged on the ground. Once muffled ray of music hit his ears. An audible groan escaped from his lips as he looked up at the tower. Sure enough, brightly colored lights were blaring out, turning the lookout into somewhat of a massive disco ball. Seriously now? Chase groaned to himself. All the word was in chaos, and his friends were having dance parties. Upstairs, the entire room was bursting with deafening disco music. Rubble was dancing on his own little ways off, not participating in the actual video game. He wasn't relatively a great dancer, but that never bothered him. Everyone was always happy to see the bulldog be himself. Zuma and Marshall were players dancing on the way to the platforms, as if their lives depended on it. They were all moving in all directions, moving their bodies as if every rhythm flowed through them. The scores were close, maintaining the near equal numbers as the song continued, but there could only be one winner, and both dogs were fighting a tooth and nail for the trophy. Rocky was sitting, mesmerized by how any dog could possibly move in such ways. Sky was sitting next to the mix, cheering for the duo as they stayed moved. She could only watch as her cough slightly worsened, and surely would break her down from the explosive movement. The middle elevator opened, and Chase grimaced as the music hit him with full force. No one had seen or heard him enter the main floor. The sheer volume out of game was overbearing. Flattening his ears in annoyance, he walked up next to Rocky. The mix was gleefully bouncing to the beat, and turned to smile at his shepherd friend, expecting him to return the happy look. Chase merely raised an eyebrow, unhappy at his mission to City Hall was aborted. "Are you gonna play?" Rocky asked excitedly, having to bark over the music. "No, where's Ryder?" the shepherd retorted. "What?" The mix cocked his head. "I said, where's Ryder?" Chase shouted over the deafening disco. "Outside, working on his AV." Rocky pointed to the windows. The shepherd loudly groaned, sharply turning back to the elevator. Rocky frowned at his friend's actions, wanted to call him back and invite him to a dance-off. Chase re-entered the elevator and hit the button. The door swiftly shut, slightly muffling the music, and then increasingly quiet down as it moved downward. Chase decided he'd rather not go deaf today and took his second lick out his paw. Arriving outside, Chase left the elevator and walked around to the garage. The smell of motor oil hit his nose as he walked into the pavement, coming up to Ryder. "I thought you were joining the dance party upstairs," he commented, wedging the screwdriver under his vehicle. "I'm not feeling like it tonight." Chase sat down. "I don't get how they could cut loose like that when the ACG is tearing the city into pieces." "Well, sometimes you gotta take a breather," Ryder shrugged, wiping his forehead. "It's unhealthy to not to take breaks every once in a while. But those dogs are—" "Yes, I'm aware of what they're doing." The boy raised an eyebrow at the dog. "Why are you still on this? We all have to do is stay out of their way, and they'll eventually leave. As a police dog, I feel responsible for keeping my city safe, and—" "It's not your city, Chase." The shepherd hung his head, huffing in quiet agitation. "I know, it's just— I don't know why we're not doing anything about them." "We are, but it's not you doing it." Ryder pushed himself out of under the AV and getting up. Chase tilted his head in confusion. "Tonight I'm leaving for the mountains," he explained, cleaning off his tools. "Leaving?" Chase jolted. "Now? Why?" "Just for a few days. I'm gonna try and get the ACG out of the old-fashioned way," Ryder explained. "I and Everest will go over some legal papers and see if we can bend a rule or something to get them out." "Why can't Everest come here?" "Don't ask questions, Chase. Just do as you're told," Ryder told him sternly. "While I'm gone, you're in charge. Call me Sky if Sky's sickness gets worse." Chase was severely taken off guard and nearly barreled over the sudden reveal that Ryder was going to completely leave in the night. He opened his mouth to say something, but decided to shut it out of fear of angering his owner. He followed his orders. All good dogs did. Yet something was pulling at the back of his mind. There was something that Ryder wasn't quite telling him, and he knew it. He knew better than to challenge the boy. However, the shepherd merely nodded in acceptance. Ryder would be leaving, and Chase was in charge. Nightfall shredded over the lookout. The agonizing music was still emanating from the lookout. Chase poked his head out from his kennel in irritation, pleading for a power outage to fry the game. Only time to the party was stopped when Ryder went up there to announce his departure. Walt was most likely met with surprised exclaims, as most of the pups were understanding. Chase didn't share their initial thoughts, as he couldn't help but narrowing his eyes as he watched Ryder sped away on his AV into the night. A lingering feeling was just bleeding into what felt like abandonment. Sure, Ryder couldn't just leave in the middle of all this. It didn't matter right now. The police dog had other things to attend to, and without his owner getting in the way, he could complete his own mission. Surely out of all the others were distracted with their games, so none of them would get in this way either. Taking a deep breath, Chase stepped out of his kennel into the night. His mind fired off a quick way to sped into the city hall, preferably one that minimized the attention onto himself. He considered taking his rig, as that would be the faster option, but it would certainly draw some more prying eyes. Chase frowned, wondering if taking one of the pup's rigs was a better option. Then he realized he didn't know how to drive them. He was forced to settle in on his own vehicle, but had to drive with the lights and sirens off. It was the only option. Throwing on a dark jacket in an attempt to conceal his identity, Chase hopped in his rig and started the engine. The drive to the city was anxiety-filled paranoia creeping up the shepherd's back as he neared City Hall. Did he really know what he was doing? Was this a smart idea? To go behind Ryder's back? Could he still turn around and go back on it all? If he had the option to leave, why wasn't he taking it? He finally parked on his rig on the side of the road, turning off the engine and hopping out. He had arrived at the tall government building that was City Hall. It was almost intimidating, being a small puppy on the sidewalk, approaching such structure. "Here goes nothing," Chase gulped. The overhead road lights illuminated the courtyard before him. A small tent, dark blue in color, sat idly before the main doors. Underneath it was a white foldable table with some papers on it. A rather tired-looking husky hat with his chin resting on the table, seemingly nodding off. Chase approached the table, despite it towering over his small height. He gently cleared his throat, and the husky's eyes snapped open. "Huh?" He picked his head up, looking out of confusion. "Down here." The dog leaned forward on the table, finally getting spots the small police dog sitting before him. The husky instantly gave a sour expression. "What do you want? Is this where I apply for CAP?" Chase looked at him. The older dog held a surprised expression for a solid second, and stuttered a moment before looking down at the papers. "Are you serious?" "Yes," the puppy said flatly. "Well, I'll tell you now, we don't accept puppies," growled the husky. "Shouldn't you be in bed?" "I'm not a puppy." Chase narrowed his eyes, standing up on his back and legs, and placing his forearms on the table. "I'm from the Paw Patrol. We practically run the city." "Oh, it's you, Six." The older dog rolled his eyes. "Honestly, it's goddamn hilarious that this city has to rely on a team of puppies." "Maybe so, but I'm still law enforcement," the police dog argued, "and I want in. I told you, we don't accept puppies." "But I'm not a puppy. I have the right to know what's going on." The husky glanced aside. "Kid, I don't really know what to do here," he shrugged. "Paw Patrol or not, we don't take puppies." "I'm not taking no for an answer," the shepherd flattened his ears. "Those words will get you tased." "Look, is there a supervisor I can talk to?" Chase submitted, slightly flexing his dull claws on the table. The husky raised his eyebrow, then rolled his eyes. "You're gonna play that card, huh? Fine." He raised a paw to his chest and revealed a collar that was practically hidden from his fur. Chase immediately recognized it was a tag with the radio, just like his pup tag. "Captain, sir, we have a situation out here," he spoke to it. Chase returned to all fours, satisfied that he was making progress, slightly wagging his tail After enduring a few more seconds of the dog's hostility, Chase turned his head to the city hall's doors swung open and walked out a dog that made him stop in his tracks. Up until now, he was feeling confident that his ability was to see this until the end, but now all he had to do was to run home. His confidence completely died as the second dog walked out, brimming with authority, and Chase recognized that the Belgian Malinois instantly as the exact dog who intercepted their last mission. Cyrus walked out with a stern face, intending some nagging sheepdog ready to throw obeisances in the air. He was instead met with a small puppy, and his eyes widened in surprise. "You?" the Malinois muttered, taking a step back. Yeah, Chase breathed. "Me again. I thought I told you to stop getting involved," Cyrus growled, baring his sharp fangs. "I'm not," Chase fired back defensively, then hesitated. "Well, yes I am, but I'm not intruding like last time." "What?" Cyrus shook his head, not believing the small puppy would even dare to overstep this far. "You're intruding now just as much as you were the other day." "Well, I needed to be in the loop somehow." The police dog took a step forward. "So I'm here applying for CAP." "Ugh," Cyrus deflated slightly. "Come inside, not out here." Feeling uncertain of himself, but still holding on to the flickers of his determination, Chase nodded as Cyrus turned around and headed inside the building. Following behind him, the puppy felt a chill crept up his spine. Just how deep into the rabbit hole had he fallen? The Malinois pushed it open the glass doors and quickly walked through the lobby and down the hobby, and they passed by a front desk with the simple plotted plants that dotted its edges, passing under the ceiling banner that bore the emblem of Adventure Bay. As Chase walked behind the larger dog, his mind went wild with the new territory that he was straying in. He had thousands of questions and became increasingly annoyed the longer they went unanswered. Cyrus opened the door to the side, leading to a small room with nothing but a table and 2 chairs. It resembled a place where you interview new employees or interrogate a captive. On the table was a closed folder. "Sit," Cyrus ordered, walking in. Chase instinctively lowered his rear to the floor and sat with a straight, firm posture, tilting his head slightly upward. "In the chair," the Malinois said, exasperated. "Oh, right," Chase tried to laugh it off. "Sorry, I'm used to doing that stuff for like treats, you know." He chuckled nervously as he climbed into the firm plastic chair. Cyrus raised an eyebrow. "Are you absolutely sure you want to be a part of this?" he questioned, sitting across from the puppy. "Because once you get in this loop, you can't come out." "Of course," the shepherd nodded eagerly. "When I became a police dog, they told me this was the next step in life." No, Cyrus cut him off. This is nothing like that. You'll be under a confidential agreement. No one can know of your involvement or you'll face repercussions." Chase frowned, drooping his ears. "Why not?" "Because," Cyrus leaned slightly, trying to dive home at a point, "the thing that the ACG does and deals with are nothing like you've seen. It's more serious. We see things that will not hesitate to kill you or others." Chase's expression changed. His frown slowly turned into mild shock. "And the reason we're here in Adventure Bay," he hesitated for a moment. "Trust me, you'll be better off knowing." He placed his paws on the table, leaning in slightly. "Chase, I beg of you, just go home. This is not something a puppy should be roped into." The shepherd thought for a long moment, then proudly puffed out his chest. "Chase is on the case," he said with a smile. "But are you?" Cyrus asked. "You say you're a police dog. Top of my class." "What class?" "Well, mostly riders' programs," Chase confessed, glancing to the side. "So you're not a cop?" Cyrus narrowed his eyes. "I am," the puppy shot forward. He struggled to find the words. "I've just never really seen action in Adventure Bay like the things you see on TV." The 2 dogs sat in silence for a brief moment before Cyrus spoke again. "Do you have a gun?" Chase shuffled in his paws uncomfortably. "Yes, I do." "I never see it on you. Is it in your pup pack?" "No, it's actually in the storage crate back at home," the puppy explained. "I have a large bunker where I keep most of my gear, mainly the ones I've never needed before." "Like?" Cypress pushed. "Mostly riot gear." Chase shrugged. I think I have tear gas, but I've never really need any of it, so it just all stays in there. Yeah, I notice this city doesn't seem to get much action to begin with, nodded the Malinois. It's usually just cats and trees and lost mail. I imagine our presence has been quite abrupt. It has, Chase frowned. If I could be honest, I really don't like what you're doing to the city. Oh? The dog tilted his head. And I don't, and maybe if you told me that why you're here and your reasons for such, maybe I can understand and even want to help. Is it a criminal on the loose or something? No, Chase, it's much more than that, Cypress pressed. Then just tell me. Are you sure? He growled in response. Are you sure 100% sure that you want to sign these papers and see shit that will scar you for life and never be able to tell anyone? Is that where you want to take your life? Yes, Chase nearly barked. I want to help my city. Cyrus leaned back and gave a long sigh, trying to make sense of the puppy before him. In a way, he almost admired Chase's determination, but he feared what the puppy would be exposed to the poor dog. And yet his mind seemed to be made up. There was truly no turning back. Fine, he submitted, reaching behind him and pulling out a piece of paper. Sign here. And a pen haphazardly tossed it before Chase, as the paper was slid in front of him. And before you sign, I'm giving you one last chance to go home. Chase stared at the papers for a long time, before picking up his pen in his mouth and signing his name, although holding a pen in one's mouth made writing difficult, as Chase produced a line that resembled a chicken scratch. But it didn't matter. A signature was a signature. All right, Chase spat out the pen. Do I get a shirt or something? No, Cyrus said firmly. I guess I have a lot to tell you. We'll start at the beginning. Chase nodded, sitting comfortably. For the record, Cyrus began, you are completely prohibited from telling anyone outside of the ACG of your new position. This is for your protection, he finished, watching Chase nod. The duties of CAP members are to assist the ACG and report their findings. But since you are a part of the Paw Patrol division, I have a more special assignment for you. Chase nodded, listening intently. You want me to come out and say it? Cyrus braced himself. Chase, there's something loose in Adventure Bay. And before you ask, it's not a criminal. It's something much different. Something more. It's what we can only label as a biological threat. Parasite of sorts. Like a disease? Chase asked. No, diseases can be cured. His eyes flicked to the side. Well, most of them. But this thing isn't a sickness. It's alive. We don't have a lot of data on what it is exactly. We just know it's a creature. A parasitic organism of sorts. A week or so ago, he began, there was a breach in a secret research facility. We're not paid to know what the exact details, but one of the experiments has escaped into the wild. Cyrus reached into the folder that had been sitting there on the table and opened it, revealing a bunch of papers and some Polaroid photos. Chase watched intensely as Cyrus pressed his paw on one of the photos and moved it to Chase's view. Looking down, Chase tried to focus on the photo before him. It was slightly dark, possibly taken in low light, and appeared to be still of the room. He could see the tables, overturned chairs, and something like that barreled through in the room and knocked everything over. The walls were covered in either waterfalls of wires or metal coils, or plagued in grime, giving the photo's sickly, unkept feel. Chase's eyes narrowed, focusing on one more of the tables. There was a silhouette poking out of the corner on a small head, with the arm paw sticking out as well. It was a dog with all ears and a narrow muzzle. It was too dark to identify the details, but looking at the pinpricks it had, for its eyes were clear as day. Is that a dog? Chase asked, looking up at Cyrus. No, Chase, he shook his head. Me? Varrock Miles. Who? The puppy asked, confused. Cyrus sighed, growing uncomfortable with relying the information. Varrock Miles is an uncellular organism. You know that it means, right? It means their entire body is completely one cell. Chase nodded. Cyrus continued, tapping his paw. The Varrock Miles cell possesses parasitic traits. The dog in the photo was a test subject that they injected the cell into. Within moments, The Varrock Smiles was completely overtaking the body, taking control of their mind. You can't see it in the photo, but its skin slowly started decaying. Chase sunk further into the chair as Cyrus leaned over the table. Chase, its skin is withered away. Sure, the dog's face is mostly intact, but the body is nothing but blood, bone, and vein-covered muscles. Once the Varrock Smiles parasite enters your blood, you're turned into minutes. There doesn't seem to be any way to fight it back yet. What? Chase squeaked. To make matters worse, Cyrus growled, the dog, whom we now could safely refer to as Varrock Smiles himself, has a survival as its best interest. It wants to continue. It will attack and devour anything that crosses its path. And that thing is smart, Chase. It's smart enough to know about when to hide and stay in the shadows. According to the research papers we are given, it knows how to split off its main cell from the body to escape death. The old body is left to rot and decay. The Varrock Smiles find something, I don't know, a bug or a person, to try a ride on and find its next host. Chase could barely say anything. His eyes were widened and his ears flattened. He barely makes sense of what he was being thrown at him. And when it does grow big enough, Cyrus shrugged, the host's body begins to rupture, and losing its skin wasn't enough. It becomes a horrific predator, using tendrils to snatch anything when it comes across and drag into its body, adding it to its size of biomass until nothing but a massive dog-shaped gory monster, looking to endlessly consume all life in the city. And now this monster is loose in Adventure Bay, Cyrus finished. We have seen the reports that local people and dogs are suddenly vanishing. It can't be a coincidence. You're kidding, Chase quivered. This is why you're here? Cyrus nodded. This is why we're closing off the city, and why we shut down your mission on the missing woman and dog. You see, Varrock Smiles is smart enough to know when to hide. It'll burrow itself into the bloodstream, but not instantly take over your brain. It literally hides inside you, waiting for the right moment to emerge. In fact, one of your Paw Patrol friends could have the parasite in them right now, and not even realize it. What? The shepherd recoiled, horror creeping within him as he remembered Sky's lingering illness. So here's where your special assignment, Cyrus concluded. Go home and watch your friends. Take note of where they are at all times. I do mean watch them. A sign of dormant infection could be excessive as nosebleeds, hobbling, most drunken movement, or show symptoms of fever. The mission of the ACG is to find the Varrock Smiles and contain it. The return of the monster to the facility. So if one of your friends ends up... He stopped himself, noting the puppy's terrified expression. Look, if one of your friends ends up being the host, call me ASAP. He passed Chase what looked like a pup tag, complete with the chip attached to the collar. Unless they're already merging to be one of the Varrock Smiles, can't affect multiple bodies at once. So if you see it, you call us, and we'll send over everything we have. Chase looked down at the pup tag. Little pieces of metal were clearly meant to be a lifeline, with the small button in the middle of what activated a homing beacon. Gulping fearfully, he reached for a paw forward and took the tag. I'm sorry about our brutality. Cyrus hung his head apologetically. We're really trying to get this creature contained out of here. So head home. Keep in mind what I said, okay? Chase nodded, barely able to contain his horrified quivering. Taking the new pup tag in his mouth, he climbed down from the chair and left the room, near traumatized expression on his face. Cyrus watched him go, fearing for the puppy's psychological health.